Throughout the millennia, human beings have constructed some incredible architectural marvels scattered around the globe. The Luxor Temple is an example, or Stonehenge, or even Gobekli Tepe, the oldest known religious site in the world. Sometimes it seems these indecipherable monuments hold the key to uncovering the mysteries of the past, but often their designs seem alien, and we're left with more questions than answers. Two fundamental overlooked elements were crucial in building those edifices and thereby understanding them. History aficionados, welcome to Intrigued Mind. Join us today as we explore two vital bricks in comprehending ancient temples, agriculture, and religion. Think about constructing monumental architecture today. What appears in our minds are huge machines. Machines to move materials, machines to produce big blocks of concrete, machines to transport workers. They require tremendous amounts of energy, mainly provided by fuel and electricity. Still, sweat and tears are an essential part of the process. But what would happen if we removed fossil fuels and electricity from the equation? We would mostly need wood and rope, and a lot of it. Wonderful wooden machines would allow us to build incredible cathedrals, for example. But without fuel or electricity, what would power those grand machines? A combination of hands and animal power, of course. If we go further in the past and remove the innovative wooden machines, we are left with humans and animal power, and only one thing powers those: food. Some of these stones in ancient temples weigh a few dozen tons. The modern crane can lift between 10 and 60 tons using 244 kilowatts of mechanical power. With the human body being able to sustain 350 watts over a few minutes, we would need 700 humans to have the same power. Some people don't even have 100 friends on Facebook, nor the ways to feed all those people for days on end. So, agriculture and logistics were essential in the erection of these eternal buildings. Let's visit some agricultural civilizations who built incredible temples without cranes, wooden machines, nor Facebook. Our first stop is Egypt, and the pharaohs who built a 30-century-long civilization, marvelous and enormous, pointy tombs. 400 miles south of Cairo, on the east bank of the Nile, we find the Luxor Temple. It was built between 1600 and 1100 BCE, the youngest temple we will look at today. For its rising pylon of Ramses II and boulevard of sphinxes, the construction spanned across the reigns of a few pharaohs, including Amenhotep III, Ramses II, and Tutankhamun. Pause for a moment to appreciate how incredible it is that a civilization was stable enough to pursue an endeavor of this scale and scope for a couple of generations. The Luxor Temple was devoted to Amun, king of the gods, the mother goddess Mut, and Khonsu, the god of the moon and time. It was also the center of the Opet festival, the most important festival of the ancient capital, Thebes. The festival aimed to maintain open communication between the gods and the pharaohs. It was also a way for the new kingdom society to ensure that the harvest would flourish. The festival lasted 11 days at its debut and kept on going for 24 days by the time of the 20th dynasty. We can speculate that fertility celebration, closely tied to the seasonal flood and crop yields, took on a more prominent place as it unfolded over the years. Agriculture was indeed a cornerstone of Egyptian life. To keep an efficient building capacity, they had to place fertile soil at the center of their worship. Indeed, without the Nile and the bounty it produced, how else could the Egyptians feed the massive amount of workers they needed to construct these temples in the middle of the desert? Now let's jump a millennium back and visit a gorgeous island in the middle of the Mediterranean Sea, Malta. The most ancient temples in Europe are located here, And we can find the only prehistoric underground temple in the world. Impossible to pronounce, impossible to write. Hypogeum of Ħal-Saflieni. A broad range of objects and human remains found there help date the underground structure to around 4000 BCE. On top of being the only prehistoric underground temple, the Hypogeum is one of the best preserved. To preserve its state, the site is open to a maximum of 80 visitors each day, and its microclimate needs to be strictly regulated. It is an all-in-one monument. It may have been used as a temple, a sanctuary, and a necropolis. It consists of 3 levels with halls, chambers, and labyrinthic passages carved out of rock. Its halls and chambers are filled with red ochre paintings. The lower level is dated from 3150 to 2500 BCE. Its deepest room is 35 feet underground. Speculations hint at grain storage because only water was found at this level. The middle level, dated from 3300 to 300 BCE, offers a variety of rooms with the most evidence. The oracle room has a powerful acoustic resonance, displaying an elaborate painted ceiling. The decorated room has unusual geometrical patterns of spirals. The room called the Holy of the Holies captures precisely the light of the winter solstice. We can only speculate they were celebrating a proto-Christmas. In what is named the main chamber, the sleeping lady was discovered. It is a clay figure representing the mother goddess, usually linked with fertility because of the wide hips. Some chambers of the upper level are the most ancient, as they date from 3600 to 3300 BCE and seem to have been used for burial. Additionally, the objects recovered depicted artistic themes thought to be related to the veneration of the dead and spiritual transformation. It seems like the Maltese were hard at work to make sense of the world. When it came to assemble megaliths, we can speculate that the nutrients for the body seem to be as important as the nutrients for the soul. Thus, we find another civilization sacralizing the fertility of the soil with symbolic figures. The interweaving of agriculture and religion is fascinating. Would ancient Maltese have built this temple without the desire to worship the idea of fertility? Let's see what the Giganta temples have to say about that. Still in Malta, they are located on a hill on the island of Gozo. Built between 3600 and 3200 BCE, they predate the pyramids and Stonehenge by over 1,000 years. Legends say that giants built this megalithic monument. The name is derived from Gigant, meaning giant in Maltese. Indeed, who other than giants could have moved coralline limestone blocks of 5 meters high, sometimes weighing over 50 tons? Archaeological findings, such as figurines, statues, and animal bones, suggest that a cult of fertility developed here that worshipped the Great Earth Mother. As an ancient Maltese, I would also make sure sacrifices to Mother Earth would keep the giants from eating me. From the last 3 temples explored, it is no surprise ancient agricultural civilizations would superstitiously combine abundant harvests, rituals, and uncontrollable weather patterns into religious beliefs. Without agriculture, there would not have been any monuments to celebrate it, nor any workers to build them. But wait a minute, what if we remove agriculture from the equation? Would humanity still be motivated and able to erect incredible monuments? A place in southeastern Turkey gives us mind-boggling clues. We turn to the oldest known temple in the world to find answers. Gobekli Tepe offers quite a glimpse back in time, as it was believed to be built around 10,000 BCE. Gobekli Tepe is one of those monuments that upends our perspective of our own history. Erected most likely by hunter-gatherers, Gobekli Tepe predates pottery, the invention of writing, and the wheel, but most astoundingly, agriculture and animal husbandry. Wait, what? Most of the ancient temples were built thanks to a close relationship with agriculture and to make sure harvests would deliver. But What about Gobekli Tepe? Why would they create such a structure? How would they do it without generous amounts of grain and the populations agriculture could support? In fact, agriculture allowed us to have a bigger return on energy spent. Building such a site only with hunting and gathering with stone tools must have been an incredible challenge. Without agriculture, it means they would have to gather enough to feed hundreds of workers. For this reason, the discovery of Gobekli Tepe radically shifted our perception of civilization's genesis. Nobody would live on the temple site, but feasts would occur recurrently, as animal bones suggest. Wild animals that were hunted from far away were carried there. Large stone jars were found on the temple site, suggesting people could have drunk a type of mead or beer. The feasting aspect is the easiest explanation for attracting a labor force to construct the enclosures, says Jens Notroff, a German archaeologist who works on the site. Through the art found, we can speculate that necessity wasn't the reason behind Gobekli Tepe, but rather a deep craving to understand our surrounding world. As a matter of fact, the monument sports a circular structure with elaborately carved stones of lions, scorpions, and vultures, along with T-shaped pillars with incredibly anthropomorphic artwork, including hands and arms. It just might be the earliest representation of gods. Gobekli Tepe was a gathering space for nomads. It is believed people from Egypt would travel 1,500 kilometers to attend get-togethers at Gobekli Tepe. We previously thought agriculture was the cornerstone of civilization. Communities would settle in cities and cultivate their surroundings. But the Turkish archaeological site brings evidence suggesting a spiritual curiosity was the basis for the assembling of Gobekli Tepe and its temporary festivals. To conclude, humans used these prominent monuments to try to make sense of the world. Along the millennia, our methods to explain the world got better and better, going from stories and symbols to empirical approaches to the scientific method. We could better understand our reality and realize that the archetypes from our stories are actually projections of a flawed understanding of the world. Now we have powerful instruments to measure the incredibly big to the smallest quark. In some ways, we have stripped the world of the meaning our ancient ancestors were looking for, and the reasons they spent countless hours and gallons of sweat to erect these monuments can only provide us with wonder. Some are going to see it as progress, whereas others would be saddened by such a diagnosis. What are your thoughts? Let us know in the comments section. Also, be sure to like, subscribe, and hit that notification bell to be recurrently intrigued by the most fascinating forgotten parts of our history.